Hello everybody, this is Nick DeTiro, Professor of Information Technology and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College. Now, if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're in a class, you're in an ITCS class, and you're a individual who's going down the path of information technology or computer science. So the material that's going to be covered in this particular video, we can no longer just look at things at the surface level. I tell my students all the time, generally speaking, when we talk about the ITCS world, you have the consumers of the technology and you have the providers of the technology. And yes, the providers of the technology are also the consumers, but we kind of look at that as consumers and providers. The consumers, we need to educate on different things. We tell them don't click on email attachments, try to use VPNs, be careful about your cookies and things like that. And that's important because the consumer obviously uses the technology, but the consumer doesn't have to really deep down investigate or deep dive investigate into what is really going on. As providers of this technology, especially if you're in the cybersecurity world or ethical hacking or forensics, you have to understand what is going on in the background. There are ways that networks behave, and we're going to concentrate on the internet and a little bit of privacy and what's really being transmitted over the internet. You have to understand or have a base understanding as what is going on so you can mitigate things. We can't completely eliminate, right? Because of the way that networks work, we can't just eliminate things. We can air gap it where the computer is not attached to anything. And yes, you're going to be safe there. But if you want to play on the internet, you want to connect to a network, whatever, you have to understand it. So when you convey that knowledge to your users, to the consumers, you have a better understanding of it. So in this video, we're going to investigate spyware, malware, trackers, blockers, things like that. On the consumer side, basically, make sure your antivirus software is updated. Make sure your spyware software is constantly being updated. Be very careful of suspicious sites. Maybe use a more secure browser, right? But let's take a look at things on the provider side. So let me go up to my computer. All right. And I'm going to run a program throughout this demonstration called Wireshark. It's a very popular open source network analyzer. A lot of bells and whistles to this. I really don't have the time. We can make an entire class on Wireshark. And what I'm going to do with Wireshark, I'm going to keep it really simple. I am only going to be looking at the traffic coming from my machine, coming and going from my machine. I don't care about the other traffic on the network. I'm only concerned about the traffic that is on my machine. Since my machine is on the Wi-Fi, I'm going to say, okay, start monitoring things that are going on the Wi-Fi. And I'm not doing anything, right? I'm not surfing. I'm not downloading. I'm not doing anything, basically recording, but that's not using any network resources. So my computer is constantly talking to other computers. That's normal. If I was to let this run a little bit, right? If I was to let this run a little bit, I'm going to stop here. Okay, and I will immediately notice some things, and through a little investigation, I see this a lot. I see this particular URL, this mynetworksettings.com. That is not the internet. My computer has not gone out to the internet. That is the URL to my router. If you do a little homework, I use Verizon's 5G router. All right, so I'm not physically connected. It uses the Verizon 5G network. And so my computer, according to this, my computer is constantly talking to that router. It's sending information, it's getting queries. And if I look at other things, it's doing some DNS. I still don't know what this is. I've looked at these for a few months. I don't know who my computer is talking to. That is on a private network, so obviously that's on my network here. I'm not running a 10 network, so must be some kind of diagnostics. I'm assuming it's some kind of diagnostics. But as my computer just sits here not doing anything, if I was to run this, again, this is just traffic going from my computer to the network. I'm not looking at anybody else. There's this constant communication or discussion with the router. That's normal. That's acceptable. So let's take a look. Let's start looking at when I leave my network and I start surfing the internet. So I'm going to restart this. Let it start gathering some packages. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a standard browser. Now, I am not criticizing any of these browsers. I am just using them. The three browsers that you will see demonstrated in this, I use constantly. So I like them. They're very clean. They're very efficient. The first browser I'm going to look at is Chrome. Chrome's been out for a while. It is from the Google family. It's a very clean, very efficient browser. Most websites are very, very happy with Chrome. A little sidebar, a lot of browsers you may see, one of the other browsers you'll see in this video is an offshoot of Chrome. So Chrome is open source, so you can take it and you build your own browser technology. And we see that a lot where people will use Chrome because it's such a very small, efficient browser that it gets forked off into other areas. And the next browser we'll look at, it is a direct fork from Chrome. Now, all I've done right now was I've launched Chrome. The default page I go to is immediately to Google. Let's take a look at Wireshark. And you may not see it, but yeah, here we go. This right in here. The moment I launched Chrome, right? It just didn't go up there and pull down the web pages. It's pulling down web pages. It's making connections. It's doing a whole bunch of things. Now, this Googleopolis or something. Here's some IP6s. So a lot of communication has been established between my computer using Chrome going up to obviously the Google environment. If I go back, really haven't done much. Google is famous for a very simple white background, simple, no advertisements. That's kind of interesting. If you look back on the history of Google, going back to the 90s when it first came out, there were other search engines. Yahoo was probably one of the bigger search engines out there. There was Ask Jeeves, there was Bing, there was a bunch of search engines. And they all went with the approach of having a bunch of splash to them, a bunch of other connections, maybe news feeds, weather feeds, because they were gathering, that's how they were making some kind of income. They were gathering income by having that. Google took the approach like, no, we're going to gather income another way. And that's for another time, another video. So even though Google, there's nothing there, if I go back to Wireshark, yeah, it's loading away. I'm kind of in the middle of the capture. If I go all the way down to the bottom, you can see my computer still has to communicate with my router. That's the mynetworksettings.com. And it's constantly, seems like it's constantly going back and communicating with the Google server. That's fine, right? I understand that, but now we see that. I want to go to, I'm going to close Google Chrome, and I'm going to go to another browser, and this is Brave. Now, I've been using Brave for a few years now. It is a offshoot. It's a fork of Chrome. They basically took the open source of Chrome, and the people at Brave decided to create this Brave browser. Its primary purpose is to begin to block unnecessary network traffic, right? And their premise is, and they've done research, I can't really confirm this research, that 25% of network traffic could be advertisements, malware, spyware, tracking. So you'll notice that in this one, the default landing page is DuckDuckGo. I strongly encourage to use of DuckDuckGo. You'll see that in a bit. This is DuckDuckGo's search engine. They're big in privacy, and you're going to see that. That's going to be my next browser. But they're big in privacy, so I tend to use DuckDuckGo as my search engine versus Google because it does restrict the number of blockers and trackers and things like that. But if I go back to Wireshark, remember I launched DuckDuckGo, and I go down to the bottom, and we don't see so much of the Google anymore because I'm not talking directly to Google. It appears that I'm talking to this environment here, this cloudfront.net. I strongly believe that's who DuckDuckGo's search engine is working off of. You may not have noticed it so much, but the amount of traffic being generated is not that much. So when I went to Chrome, there was a lot of traffic being generated back and forth. With DuckDuckGo, a significant reduction in traffic. Nothing here that really kind of worries me. A lot of the Epson that you're seeing right now, that's just my printer in the computer. So the external traffic has been significantly reduced. Now, does this make Brave better than Chrome? No. What it does is it's a different browser meant to really reduce the amount of extra traffic being generated from spyware, spam, adware, trackers, things like that. And if I go to Chrome, if I go to the Brave browser and I open up, this is kind of a little clever here. If I open up a new tab, the default page it comes to is kind of gives me a little bit of advertisement here. It says, since I've been running I don't think I've been running this for a few years, but I think I've rebooted it several times. But since I've been running this for probably a few months, without rebooting Brave or restarting Brave or anything like that, it basically has blocked over 338,000 ads, trackers, blockers, things like that. It saved me 12.48 gigabytes of bandwidth and probably saved about 4.7 hours of traffic just leaving my machine without me knowing it. So it's kind of interesting. I don't remember when was the last time I rebooted this. So this could be a couple weeks, this could be a couple months. But it is one of the first attempts to really restrict the amount of traffic leaving my machine. Again, thinking about that privacy, the adware, spywares, and things like that. In other videos, I will talk about the filter bubble, about these ads. They're some of them are a necessary evil, right? And necessary evil. A lot of websites, this is how they get their income. A lot of legitimate websites. This is how they get their income. They get their income by selling the adware, the trackers, the information that they're gathering from you. You may see that sometimes when you're running Brave and the next browser. When you go to a certain website, you'll get a pop-up screen that says, we're not going to allow you to come to this website because we know you're blocking the traffic, and this is how we generate income. So if you want to come to this website, can't block the traffic. So let me go back again. Let's take a quick look. This is kind of hanging out there, nothing special. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to close Brave and close that up. I'm going to open up one of my newest favorite browser. And it's from the same people that brought us the DuckDuckGo search engine. DuckDuckGo, I want to say about 3 months ago. This was filmed in March of 2024. So 2023, late 2023, early 2024, DuckDuckGo came out with their own browser. I believe, but I'm not 100% sure, it is from the ground up. It's not a fork or anything like that. It's taken a little bit of time. And I fire it up, and the start screen gives me some information. Basically, because it's DuckDuckGo, the search engine, they're going to be using DuckDuckGo, but it gives me this information. It says that So far, since I've been using this and I haven't reset it, 6,300 tracking attempts have been blocked. Well, we saw that with Brave. Now watch. Let's say I want to go to, well, let me start or restart Wireshark. And let it run here. Now, watch what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to Chrome. I love Chrome. I've been using it for years. It's very clean, very efficient. And I'm going to be a little sneaky here. Right. I have Chrome over there, and I'm going to take Wireshark and split the screen. Okay, so we have Chrome and Wireshark, and this time under Chrome, I am going to go to CNN.com. I am not bad-mouthing, criticizing CNN.com. It's a news organization, right? They need to generate a revenue screen. So let's see what happens. Pay particular attention to the Wireshark side. Obviously, the Wireshark side is just going crazy with the packets, and that's fine. You know, a lot of network traffic has to be generated to every given web page. If I was to stop this, though, and I was to begin to investigate all the stuff, let me expand this screen, all this stuff that is being sent to not just CNN, but CNN relies heavily on trackers, adware, things like that, spyware. So when people make these connections, or CNN sells the connections to their customers, this is what's particularly happening. So if I was to go through all of this, I will see a whole bunch of things. Something like doubleclick.net. I think I know what that is, but I'm not going to make a judgment call on it. But I'm pretty confident that's some kind of adware, spyware, data collection. Pretty confident, not 100% sure though. And it just kind of there's other locations, just a lot of information going on there when I used Chrome and I went to CNN. Let me restart this without saving. And let me get this back into a side-by-side. And I'm going to close Chrome. And I'm going to go back to DuckDuckGo and get it side-by-side. All right. So right now what you're seeing over here is mostly, on the Wireshark side, is mostly traffic from my machine to my router. Because I'm not really doing anything with DuckDuckGo, it's not sending anything over the internet. Now that's important. You saw with Chrome and a little bit with Brave, even though I had the windows open, especially with Chrome, not bad-mouthing Chrome, it was sending traffic. It was a lot of communication between Chrome and whoever. That's normal. Same thing with Brave. Brave began to filter things. You can see with DuckDuckGo, not a lot of stuff being sent. Yeah, there's still stuff being sent, right, to the external world. But more of the traffic appears to be very local. Now let me go to CNN. Remember, I'm in DuckDuckGo here. I should see on the Wireshark side, I should see a whole bunch of traffic being generated. But what you'll notice is if I was to go through this, and let me go through this, it's taking longer for it to load. I understand that. It's taking longer for it to load, and I'm going to stop it here. But what DuckDuckGo is doing is it is blocking traffic. It is blocking trackers. It is blocking adware. It is blocking spamware. So not spamware, but spyware. And if I was to go through this very meticulously, you see, I see more of CNN than I see of the other stuff. And if I was to go here, significant reduction in traffic. Don't really care about that. Yeah, that's important, speed things up, but it still took longer because now it's blocking the trackers, spyware, adware, and things like that, saying, I'm not turning that information over to you. I've read in some articles that, not criticizing, every time you use Google and you do a search on Google, it gathers anywhere between 40 to 60 data points on you, the individual, before you start using it. So it's gathering data points on location of your ISP, your IP address, what type of operating system you're using, what current browser. If you are currently logged into Gmail, it's then tracking you. So it's sending a lot of information just on the initial track. DuckDuckGo, Brave doesn't do that. So when they make that connection, they don't start sending that information. They're blocking that information. Now, let me go back to here and let me open up another tab. Now, this is really cool. I think it's cool. Every time I open up a tab, it's a little interesting that DuckDuckGo tells me how many things it has blocked during this iteration. You will notice that in the past 7 days, okay, I have it set. In the past 7 days, it has blocked 6,348. Remember when I first started, it was 6,300. Now it's added. So by going to CNN, reputable site, let's be really honest about that. It's a reputable site. By going to CNN, DuckDuckGo blocked 48 attempts to send a cookie, do some kind of tracking. Yeah, it's going to stop cookies. If I was to go to the settings for DuckDuckGo, right, there's a couple interesting settings associated with DuckDuckGo. Where is it? The privacy setting. I have it set up that you'll notice, especially coming from the European Union, it's doing the consent of the pop-up blocks, right? Many of you probably notice on your phones and your computers, sometimes you go to a website and it says, this website wants to put cookies, this website, if you want to use it, you have to. I'm allowing DuckDuckGo to do that for me. And DuckDuckGo is basically taking a pretty aggressive approach of, I'm only going to allow the cookies that are required to come here. Also have some global privacy controls inside DuckDuckGo. This one's interesting, this Duck Player. And I'll do a quick demonstration on this. What Duck Player is its own YouTube player. But what it does is it doesn't send any information back to YouTube. So you won't get those. I love this. You won't get those streams of videos just because maybe you clicked on epic fails and all of a sudden all you're seeing is epic fail videos. No, it doesn't do that. So if I was to go to YouTube and I'll just pick, you're going to see it's going to be a very generic YouTube page. It's just a spattering of YouTube because I use DuckDuckGo when I go to YouTube. So it's not tracking me and what the videos that I have been watching, right? Nope, don't care, just, nope. All right. Let's see.
I came on this show to win back my girlfriend, because Kid Danger.
All right. So it's these little shorts. Let's see if let me go back to home here. I'll just pick something up. Now, some people may say, but I like those recommendations. Fine, then use it. James Hoffman is a famous coffee guy on the internet. Fine, use it. I choose not to. It's a personal choice. I don't like them, advertising, sending me you might like this video. So some of the things I do is I use this DuckDuckGo player. I also don't subscribe to a lot of things on YouTube. I allow myself 3 subscriptions, and that tends to keep the amount of traffic or the amount of recommendations to a minimum. But if I was to go to one of these videos and click on it, If you like coffee or interested in coffee, this guy is really, really good. He takes coffee,
Today,
he's very
we're going to talk
scientific.
about celebrity coffee.
All right. You will notice that it opened up a separate, almost like a separate window. It didn't open up a separate tab, but it opened up a separate window because now it's using the DuckDuckGo YouTube player. It's telling YouTube that this video is being run, so the individuals are getting credit for run times and stuff like that, but it's not conveying the information back to YouTube that Nick DeTiro at this particular address is watching this. So that's a really nice feature. If I go back to Wireshark, I did turn it off. Okay, so 3 different browsers, 3 different results. Chrome is going to send a lot of that information. That's how Chrome, one of the ways that Chrome and Google make money. And that's fine. That's understandable. Brave browser, significant reduction, more improvement on privacy, but but Brave is more concerned about reducing overall traffic. They like to think that, and it's true, that they reduce the amount of traffic that your browsing is generated. And then finally, I went to DuckDuckGo, and it really shut things down. I encourage people to, at a minimum, at least try the different technology. I'm not going to say, oh, you have to use DuckDuckGo, but I say try the technology. Going to add one more thing, all right? And let me swing this over. VPNs. Can have entire videos about VPNs. This is Proton VPN from the same people that brought Proton Mail. This is the free one where you're allowed 1 connection. So I can only use it on this computer. I've been using it for a while. I don't use it all the time because it will slow things down, but it's not bad when I want a little bit extra privacy involved with it. The discussion of VPN is a different topic, but let me do a quick connect on the VPN. And all I'm going to do is I'm now going to run my traffic from DuckDuckGo through a VPN. I will go to CNN.com, not picking on CNN.com, but I'll go and let's see what the traffic looks like when I use a VPN and I use DuckDuckGo. All right, we are connected, and I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to start this up, and go here. Let's get side by side. And you can see that there's a lot of communication locally, and you'll notice in a bit you're going to see something called data pack, but let me go to CNN.com. You'll notice it's taking a little bit longer because a lot of things are happening through. One, the communication is going through the VPN, so it's going through a channel. It's blocking the trackers, the browsers, things like that. A VPN, at this point, we just consider it encryption. It's a high level of encryption, but encryption, so that slows things down. That's the tunneling. If you now notice, and I'm going to stop it here, it is going through, it has a protocol called WireGuard, but it's talking to datapacket.com. That's the VPN server that I'm dealing with, that I'm communicating with. So basically from my computer, it goes out to basically one location, the datapacket.com. It's going to slow things down a little bit. You know, you're gonna notice some things here. Like I said, I'm not advertising. I'm not recommending. What I am recommending is that you at least try these different technologies and see what fits best for you. If you like the recommendation from YouTube and stuff like that, fine. I choose not to. I choose not to have that privacy. Adware, malware, trackers, and stuff like that, I have a real issue with. You know, it's a personal privacy thing with mine, not that I'm trying to hide things, but I don't want to be caught into a filter bubble where I'm only seeing stuff that kind of like that echo chamber effect. So my primary browser is DuckDuckGo. My primary search engine is DuckDuckGo. When I do use the Chrome, I'm not logged into Gmail, just different things along the way. Finally, And this is for the cybersecurity people, Security Plus, and ethical hacking, forensics specifically. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yes, we have tools that will, antivirus software that will block viruses. We have spyware blockers. The one I use is called Spybot. It's a very common one. Those really do a lot to prevent these things from even getting onto your computer. So there's your pound of prevention. The other thing is using a browser that's also reducing the adwares and things like that. The DuckDuckGo is not going to block, your viruses and stuff like that. It could mitigate that, but it's not going to block that. That's a different technology. But adware, spyware, things like that. Oh yeah, it does a really, really good job. So you have consumers, consumer of the technology, and you have providers of the technology. Even as a consumer of the technology, you should be looking at this stuff. You should be looking at VPNs. You should be looking at different browsers. I have 3 browsers on my computer. I have 3 browsers on my phone. Every one of the browsers that I mentioned does come on your phone. I actually have 4 browsers on the phone, but my primary browser is DuckDuckGo. My primary search engine is also DuckDuckGo. As the provider of the technology, rewatch this video if you want to and look at the traffic that is being generated. We no longer can just say, run this, this does this. We need to understand what is really going on in the background. So, that being said, let's go and learn something.